The only real God is the one that you believe in. Start looking for the God in others. And if you find you're tuning into a wave, well then I don't know much about being saved.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, friends.
Welcome into another episode of Spiritual Philosophy Chatter with the Joneses. I'm Danny Jones.
And I am Samantha Jones.
And this is episode 161.
161.
What are we talking about today?
This is managing anger.
Good.
Yeah.
I think for most of us, I'm speaking for myself, this is good.
We're all human, and, you know, I think this is something we all struggle with at some point in our lives. Nobody's perfect, you know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, before we get into that, can we talk, can we, about the last 3 weeks and what kind of ridiculousness that's been going on?
Yeah, it's been interesting to say the least.
Yeah.
We have missed you guys.
We're so happy to be back.
So happy.
I realized how much through talking I miss doing it, and I love doing it.
Yep, me too. Me too. I really missed it. So I was a little bit nervy today, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
It's weird because it's, it's like we haven't done it in a while, but I'm like, it's okay. It's like getting on a bike. You're fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just hoping that everything works good on
I
this
know.
end.
I know.
And just to kind of explain that, we had an older computer, about 5 years old. We were actually set up, about to push record and play for this episode, and it just conked out. And so I had to close the software, and then as I tried to reopen, I could not open anything.
Yeah.
So, couldn't even open File Explorer, and went through a 10-step process after reading of everything I could do, plus updating to Windows 11 and all that fun stuff.
Yeah, it was a process.
It didn't work, so we had to order a new computer, and we did that, and we received a lemon. And we had the technician come out and install a new motherboard, and that was enough.
That was a nightmare.
We returned that because the new motherboard did not work. And so we returned that and got another one, which, knock on wood, is working wonderfully.
Yay.
And it is a different manufacturer.
Yeah, that was a bad experience.
I'm not going to bash any companies, but it was a company that I had kind of dealt with for years, and same computer.
Yeah.
From them each time, different model, but from them, and then this time tried something different, and so far I'm pleased.
Yeah.
So
we had a lot of listeners reach out and say, can we help? Is there something we can do? Do you need a sponsorship or something? And it wasn't about that. It was just about the universe was really testing us.
Thank you for those offers.
Yes,
I know Gabe offered to do it over there.
And Kathy did. Yes, thank you so much for the offers to help. It was a learning experience for us.
Yeah.
We will probably now have recordings ready, so that if this does happen again or something, we have stuff to play.
Because we were even considering doing it via cell phone, but there was an issue of transferring the file to Google and all this stuff. So
just a lot.
But we're here. We're back. We're very happy to be back.
Yes.
Thanks for your patience.
Yes. Thanks for sticking with us.
I know there's a couple things that we wanted to discuss real quick before we hop into the episode.
Yeah. So, there's a few things that have happened.
Yeah.
Yep.
So go for it.
So the first thing we had talked about in the last episode was the Influence Me TV contest that we were in, which was basically where our listeners vote. And, there was a lot of different categories or whatever. And so we started at round 1, and we made it to round 4. And if we would have made it to round 6, we would have been headed to Europe to be on a reality TV show. So
I thought we made it to 5, because 6 was the final decision.
No, 4 was the last one.
Oh, okay.
And I knew that. I told you that. I said, because we were concerned, because I'll be honest, both of us felt like this wasn't the right thing for us. Yeah. We just were going with it to see where it would go, but we weren't pushing it because we both felt like, we're not really influencers. This isn't really what we want to do. And so we felt like we should leave that opportunity to somebody else.
And neither of us have a current passport.
No,
It'd be a lot of work.
It would have been a big nightmare. So we made it to round 4, and the girl that was in first place, she took it, but we ended in round 4 in second place.
Yeah.
And you needed to be the top one. So, yeah. So we appreciate everybody that voted for us for that.
Thank you so much.
And please don't be disappointed that we didn't make it through. It really wasn't the right thing for us. When the right thing comes along, we'll know it and we'll push it more, for sure. The other thing that I wanted to bring up was a story that we told a long time ago, like before COVID. And I don't know what episode it was. I tried to find it, but I was not successful. In this episode, we told you guys a story about how I got a call from a radio station telling me that my Bare Naked Ladies tickets were ready to be picked up or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't remember exactly what they told me, but the thing is that I didn't win any Bare Naked Ladies tickets. Okay. I know this for a fact because I have very good luck. And so I win a lot of things on the radio. So I do not call in for things that I don't want because I feel like, first of all, that's taking away from maybe something I'll win down the road that I really want. Plus, there's somebody else that might really want that.
Yeah.
You know, there's somebody that maybe wanted those Bare Naked Ladies tickets. So I would not call a radio station for those. So when they called and said that these tickets were mine and that I should be receiving them soon, I was like, what are you talking about? But whatever. Okay, fine. So then COVID hits. And, you know, we had talked about it a couple times, you know, I wonder whatever happened with those tickets, you know, the concert, blah, 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 whatever. And then kind of just faded from our memory.
Yeah, I just chalked it up to whatever. They're gone.
And then Wednesday night, I get an email from Coast 103.5 saying that our tickets are ready for me to claim in my Ticketmaster account. I was like, okay, so there they are. So we wanted to give a conclusion to this story that the tickets came through, and we actually went to the concert last night.
And the funny part is we weren't real disappointed when we hadn't heard anything for a while because neither one of us are really a fan of that group.
Right.
So when you did get the message on Wednesday that the tickets were there, we offered them to our daughter and her friend to go. Yeah. And they declined.
Yes.
And then later something told me, like a few minutes later, something told me, Samantha, can you do me a favor and look and see who's opening? Is there any opening act? And sure enough, it was Toad the Wet Sprocket and Gin Blossoms. Yeah. We just recently saw Toad the Wet Sprocket about a year ago.
Oh, maybe. Way more than that.
Longer than that?
COVID, babe. There was
that's
no.
Right. 2 years.
It was,
sorry.
No. This was probably 4 or 5 years ago.
Really?
Yes.
Oh wow! God, time flies, people.
It could have even been before we got married.
All right, irrelevant.
Yes,
but anyways, we saw them, so I was pretty content. You know,
yeah.
I had never seen Gin Blossoms.
I hadn't either,
and so you hadn't either. So I thought, well, this is cool. So we decided then, well, since Marina didn't want the tickets, we're going to go anyways. But the beauty of it was that the band we didn't care to see was the headliner, so they were last.
Yeah.
So we could go see the first two bands, and we left.
Yeah, which was cool. I had never done that before.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was cool.
It was great.
You know, so I was trying to all this time figure out why these tickets, because we get handed stuff from the universe all the time, free stuff like this. But usually it's stuff that we like. So I was a little bit thrown off by this one, and I still kind of am, like, where was there a message in this? Was there something like both of our birthdays are this month? Mm-hmm. And so, birthday present or whatever, but why Bare Naked Ladies tickets? Right. I still don't know, but whatever, the universe gives you gifts, and we're grateful for them, and thank you.
Yeah, I was still trying to go, well, maybe because you've called in for things that you did want to try to win, that somehow they have a database of phone numbers and people that have called in, and yours just sort of kind of randomly magically came up.
Well, I have won things on the radio out
but
here, so I don't know what station they're from.
But you didn't try for these particular tickets.
But I could be in their computer from winning other things before. That's possible.
Right.
So, yeah, we don't know. Maybe somebody was like, oh, Samantha and Daniel like these because they're music people, and decided to give them to us instead. I have no clue. But whatever happened,
thanks, Coast.
Yeah, thanks, Coast. And if there was somebody else involved, it was fun. The tickets could not have been any higher up in the Greek Theater.
We're back in the rowdy crowd.
Yeah, we were. But it was fun. It was fun. So we wanted to give an update on that, even though that story was so long ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. When COVID hit, and I was like, why did that happen then?
Yeah.
You know, thinking the concert was just going to be canceled. Why did that happen? And I thought there would never be an ending to that story, but there's, and maybe there's more to come. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's that.
It's a happy ending.
Happy ending, yeah. We had a good time. Whatever the whole purpose of those tickets were, we had a good time.
Yeah.
So, okay, so where are we on time? All right, so normally we answer 2 questions every week, but I think this week we're just going to do one because we have a lot to get into, and this is a very big question, but something that I think is important for us to talk about, and probably not something I could fill a whole episode with.
Okay.
I don't remember who asked this question because it was asked 3 weeks or 4 weeks ago. But the question was, what is Mercury retrograde and is it real? Well, we were going through Mercury in retrograde when this happened to our computer. Yeah. And a bunch of other things happened during that time as well.
Yeah.
I personally am not into somebody telling me I'm supposed to feel a certain way at a certain time and going with that. Like, oh, it's Mercury in retrograde, so the things are supposed to happen. I will tend to go, I don't believe that, and the universe is going to have to prove to me otherwise. So Mercury in retrograde is not something that I've ever really, bought into. I throw it around to be silly. You know, we say Mercury in Gatorade.
Right.
But after this last one, I'm not sure. Because I'll tell you that everything that could go wrong in a 3-4 week time span did.
Yeah, because reading about it too, it talks about how it messes with electronics. It can mess with electronics, stuff like that too. So
I'm going to read this to you. This is from today.com. What does Mercury retrograde mean? Unlike what it sounds like, the planet Mercury isn't actually moving backwards. It's just slowing down. Mercury normally moves faster than Earth around the sun, but when Mercury is in retrograde, it is moving slower than Earth around the sun. So kind of like when, have you ever had that experience where you're in your car and you reverse or whatever, and then the car next to you looks like it's going the opposite direction, but it's not. It's a very strange sensation. That
Similar
is what's happening. Yeah. Yes, exactly. So it kind of makes us all feel a
the
little
orbits
bit
pull
weird.
on each other too, so it's going to have effect on our feeling, I think, too.
Exactly. We're all connected, you know? So then the next part was what happens during Mercury retrograde. Mercury rules communication, travel, news, information, gossip, and technology. This means that we can expect meltdowns, false gossip, miscommunications, technology fails, which is why it's best to back up files and contacts before the retrograde. For us. Issues in travel, misconnections, and delays in hearing pertinent information. Also, during this Mercury retrograde, our daughter didn't get to go on a trip that she was supposed to go on. And I didn't even know that until just now. Travel. So that's interesting. So it says, your smartphone could break. You could be accidentally billed twice by the cable company. Things like that. And you know what? I can't say anymore that I don't believe it. I'm not sure what I believe.
Right. Well, then further reading, too, we discovered that there's not only Mercury in retrograde, but then there's Mercury and retrograde.
Oh, yeah, the week before and the week after. Yeah. Well,
so I'm like, oh, man, do we ever get out of it?
That's when it's settling down. And just when it settles down, Saturn goes into retrograde. And I don't know what that means. Don't even ask me about that. Right. But, yeah, I don't know. But you know what? The next time Mercury goes in retrograde, I'm going to keep notes.
Yeah.
Because that was a wild few weeks there, for sure. So I thought that question went along well with this, but I already had that question planned before. Yeah. So it was well, now it's even better time to answer
I would say, all the things that were occurring at the time, both public and private, I think we held it together pretty well.
We held it together very well, and I think that was a big test, too. The universe is always testing us. All of us, always. And when we're faced with something that is a little bit big or heavy or too much, it wants to see how you're going to handle it. The universe wants to know. Have you grown? Have you changed? Have you improved yourself? Yeah. And so things just kept one after the other being thrown at us. It was just unbelievable. And we did really well. Yeah. I think we did really well.
I agree.
Yeah.
Good job.
So thanks, universe, for all the tests, but let's chill.
And the gifts.
Yes, and the gifts, yes. So anyways, that's the Mercury in retrograde, and, you know, I know a lot of our listeners absolutely believe in it 100%. So, yeah, next one, like I said, I'm going to keep a little journal. And see
you should.
Yeah. Okay, and then one more thing before we get into the episode, and that's that I'm going to do a reading, like I always do.
All right.
This is for Norma, and sorry it's taken us so long to get to you, Norma. She said, this is me and my grandpa Lorenzo, hoping he has a message for my dad who has suffered a few losses. And this is Grandpa Lorenzo.
Hey.
All right, so let's talk to him. Interesting. Usually they come in with things about their personality. And the very first thing that he told me about him was that he was skeptical in life about a lot of things. And this is one of those things that he was skeptical about. Mm-hmm. I feel like there's a religious reason for that. Mm-hmm. Probably Catholic or something like that.
Understandable.
But he is obviously a believer now, but totally intrigued by this and very happy that you're intrigued by it. And one of the things that he's pointing out is he knows that you have your own mind and you definitely are in this spiritual world and going with this, but there might be a part of you that feels like it's wrong or that people are looking down on you for it. And you know what? That is with anything. Mm-hmm. It really is. Even if you're, a devout Christian, Catholic, whatever you might be, people are still going to look down on you for that. Yeah. So don't listen to what the other people say or what you think people are thinking about you. You just be you and enjoy what you know, because you know a lot more than what most people do. Mm-hmm. And that's very special, he says, because most people don't get that opportunity. Most people don't get the opportunities that all of us get to know how real this is. Yeah. I'm so grateful for that.
I agree.
So he's saying, just don't worry about that kind of stuff. Let's ask him about father and any messages for your dad. Your dad's a very strong man. His father raised him to be a strong man. He didn't realize what he was doing. You want to raise a strong child, but you don't really think about the ways that you're doing that, and maybe that some of those aren't the best ways. He looks back now and sees that he wasn't the perfect parent, and that a lot of the reason why there's certain things that your dad's not handling well is because of the way that he was raised and because he was taught to be strong. And a lot of men are taught that, not to be emotional, to just deal with whatever comes your way. And I feel like he hides a lot of his disappointment is a word that's coming to me. The loss, of course. He doesn't want people to think he's weak, and so he puts on this mask of being strong. And he really needs to let that guard down, but he may not, because that's what he knows.
We're talking about Lorenzo's son.
Son, yes.
Their father.
Yes, Okay. Yeah, Norma's father.
Got it.
Let's see what else he wants to say about it. He says, don't worry about your dad. He's fine. He's okay. He's a strong man. One of the things that we have to remember, and it is very hard, is that when you have somebody that's facing something difficult and you want to intervene, help them, we have to step back and remember that they have their own karma, they have their own lessons and their own journey, and we can't always step in and make things better because they're supposed to make certain decisions themselves and go a certain way themselves. And I really hope that all this makes sense to you. I'm sure it will. This is the hard part of not having the person on the other end, is I really don't know what he's talking about. So Norma will have to fill us in on what's going on, but I'm sure that the message you'll understand. So don't worry about Dad. He just needs to remember, or I can't even say remember because I don't think he's looking at it this way at all, that life is trying to teach him some things. The universe is trying to teach him some things. Yeah. And that once he stops resisting these things and starts going, okay, I get it. I get what you're trying to show me and teach me. Things will start going more in his direction and he will chill out a little bit, is what I feel. So good. So there's that. Norma, I hope that resonates and helps.
Very good.
So, yay.
Thanks, Lorenzo.
Yes.
And Norma.
Yes, thank you. And then one more thing. I keep saying that. One more thing.
Yeah.
And then let's give out our information for our pages.
Thank you.
Yay. So you can find me at SamanthaJonesPsychicMedium.com. You can make an appointment there. You can do anything there. You can find our podcast even. Or if you'd like to message us at the podcast, it's spiritualjoneses@gmail.com. And social media is at spiritualjoneses for pretty much all we have.
Very good.
And you?
For my art, djonesartcollection.com for the web, at djonesartcollection for Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. I did finish a new one, Bruce Springsteen, and I haven't got it on my website yet because of the lovely computer problems.
We will do that this week.
But that's going to happen in the next couple of days.
Yeah.
But it's done, and I did share it on Instagram and Facebook. And thanks to Jessica and her husband, drawing a blank on his name. But
I'm not good with names. Sorry.
they purchased some prints of it, which was very nice and very appreciative.
Yeah,
Thank you.
he's a huge Bruce fan.
Yeah, and he's
Huge.
really excited to share it on this page that he's involved with and share it with some of his friends to try to help me sell some more prints of
Yeah.
it. So
Yeah.
I was very grateful for that. Thank
Yeah.
you. And that's it for me.
Very good.
Cool.
Well, let's do it.
All right, then. Well, episode 161, Managing Anger.
I think we all know what anger is, but I'm still going to read the definitions
Yeah.
anyways.
I think we could just start by saying I felt that this title was important because we all have it.
Yes.
It's a natural emotion, and no one should tell you that you don't have the right, to be angry about something
Right.
because it's as valid as having happiness and sadness and
Yes.
sorrow and regret and every other emotion you can imagine.
Yeah.
It's what we do with it and what it does to us.
That's right.
That's why we want to talk about how do we manage our anger.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. All right. Well, let's read a couple of things here first, real quick. So this is from American Psychological Association. This is their definition of anger. An emotion characterized by antagonism towards someone or something you feel has deliberately done you wrong. Here's a couple other one other definition: a strong feeling of annoyance, displeasure, or hostility. And then this quote that I saw, that they don't say who said the quote, but I used this in the episode, or the advertising of the episode, this quote, because I liked it that much. Anger is a punishment we give ourselves for someone else's mistake. And I think as we get into that, we're going to see that for most of us, our anger comes from things that have happened to us and outside sources and how we deal with things.
Yeah, I believe it's more of a byproduct of pain and hurt.
Yes.
It's that coupled with our natural defense mechanism that sort of goes up in front of us that we feel protects us
Right.
from being hurt any further.
That's right, yeah. So I asked our listeners, do you feel that you have a problem with anger? And 37% said a little, 25% said no, 25% said I used to but not anymore, 7% said yes, and one person said people tell me that I do.
Yeah.
If people tell you that you have an anger issue and it's not just one person that might be gaslighting you, then I would listen.
Yeah.
I would listen to that.
Yeah.
And then I asked them, do any of these apply to you? And I'm going to read these in order of most that say them to the least, okay?
All right.
The first one was get irritated easily. These are all kinds of signs of anger. Get irritated easily. My past haunts me. I have trouble expressing emotions. I am unhappy with my life. I often have angry outbursts. My family seems nervous around me or has told me they walk on eggshells around me. I hate myself and it's getting worse. And I'm sad to see that a lot of people had a lot of these.
Yeah.
That makes me sad because that's not what we're here for.
Right.
Like, there was one, my past haunts me. We all have a past.
Right.
We're supposed to have a past. Don't try and not let it haunt you. Try and, what I do, if I have things that haunt me from my past that I did, is I remind myself that I'm a different person now, and I learn from those mistakes, and I can't go back and change them. All I can do is say, I would not do that again, and then not do it again.
Yeah.
And that's how you change that. And then you have to let it go, or it will eat you inside. It really will, and turn into anger.
And some of these are like, God, how do I say this? Personal, private things where you don't necessarily nobody even acknowledges that you are or aren't doing it.
Right.
It's sort of your own judge and jury about that. But yeah, I think that the one reassuring about a lot of people, agreeing to these or
Right.
relating to those
Yes.
examples is that we can obviously see we're not alone.
No.
We're all very similar, and we all have these set of emotions that run through us.
Yes.
But again, it doesn't mean that it has to do what it's doing to us.
Right.
We can allow that to stop.
Yeah. I think that for whatever reason, we get in this mindset of like, I've started going down this angry road and I have to go with it and I have to stay in it.
No.
But I've come to realize really in like the last few years that it's really important to feel it and accept that and acknowledge it and feel whatever it is, whether it's anger, pain, frustration, and then let it go.
And the letting go is the challenge.
Yeah.
Okay. But it's the lesson. It's showing you that you can move through emotion, because it's like the yin and yang,
Right.
that we have to experience certain emotions to understand what the other emotions really mean.
Right.
And that's vice versa, that we're learning the power of these emotions, what they are, what they mean to us, and what they can do to us
Yes.
if we do or don't allow them to affect us.
Yes. And all of these emotions affect people differently. Anger is probably the thing I'm the most scared of.
Yeah.
I am terrified of confrontation. It really it turns me upside down. And the older I get, the worse it gets. I don't like it. I don't want it. But I know that for myself, I have moments of anger because I'm human. But it's what you do with it. I try and separate myself from everybody and just deal with it myself. Sometimes you need to scream really loud. Sometimes you need to hit something. I'll get a cardboard box and just hit it. They have those rage rooms where you go and you beat things with a bat. These things all help us to get out our emotions. We need to get them out. It's just about how we take them out. What is healthy? What is unhealthy?
Yeah, I can say that most of us would probably say that we live in a world where anger is taken out in wrong ways.
Yes, absolutely.
And that could mean a multitude of things, but I would say most of those people that have done something, and I'm going to let's go to like crimes, the hate crimes, that most of these people that commit these types of crimes, murder, whether it's race motivated or gender or sexuality, whatever it is, that there's pain within that person.
Yeah.
That they haven't dealt with.
Right.
And this is causing them to lash out in anger.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. I never thought about that, but that's true.
Yeah.
So we talk about healthy anger. What is healthy anger? Well, let me give you some examples of healthy anger. Observing and expressing anger without being overwhelmed by it. So you don't let it ruin your day. Like that is a big thing where I think we have to realize that just because we have a bad moment in the day or we're feeling angry at one moment of the day, that doesn't mean that it has to contaminate the rest of it. Right. Sometimes we do. Sometimes we get to the end of the day and we're like, well, this day was just shot. And then you got to think, okay, tomorrow's a new one. And if you wake up angry, it's best to just try and let that go before you start your day. I think for me, the waking up angry was something that I used to do a lot. A lot. I didn't really express it on the outside, but on the inside, I used to sit and stew and go over and
did
have
that a lot.
Oh yeah, and have those fake arguments with people. When I get to tell them about how and then you never tell them how you're feeling.
Right.
You just sit there in your head and go over it, and you make yourself crazy.
Or if you ever have the chance, or that's totally goes the opposite way.
You're like,
it's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true too.
No, that's a big one. And that was a big hurdle for me to wake up in the morning and challenge myself not to be in that way.
Yeah.
To put gratitude as the first kind of thought in my head.
Yeah.
And that's helped a lot. Not to say there's not mornings I don't wake up and go, I'm not ready to face what the day has to offer.
Yep.
But for the most part, no, it's not like it used to be. Like
No. And when I catch myself having those moments, like where I start having those arguments in my head, I really do go, what are you doing? Like, why are you doing this? You know it's not going to go this way. You know you're just making yourself crazy. Stop it.
Yeah, call yourself out.
You have to call yourself out because who else is going to stop it? How else is it going to stop?
Yeah.
It's not. You have to shut it down yourself. Another, healthy anger here is viewing anger as a sign to direct your attention inward to identify your needs, values, and desires. Why did I get angry? What was it about that situation that made me angry? Because there is a reason. There is a core reason. And a lot of us, we don't want to admit what it is, so we blame the other person. I'm angry because this person said this to me. Well, you know what? That person could have said the same thing to me and not made me angry. So where does that come from? What is the issue within us that causes us to feel that way?
Yeah.
We have to identify that. And then that gives us the opportunity to change that about ourselves. But if you don't identify what the situation is within yourself, how can you change it?
Yeah.
You
know? Exactly.
Yep.
You know, I think along with kind of probably getting a general consensus from most people that we feel like we live in a world that has a lot of anger. And you see, I feel like, this is my perception, I see kind of like what you're saying, where a lot of people are using that as justification to be then angry themselves.
Oh,
right?
yes.
I don't like what's going on over here. This guy's angry.
Yep.
You know, and now I'm going to make myself angry to either meet that vibration or to confront it.
Yep.
Or whatever. So we see these, it's like, I don't know what the word is, entitlement. Like I have I have the right to constantly be this way. And you do. Ultimately, in your own path, your own life's path, you have that right to live in it.
Yeah.
If you want. But again, like you were saying, is getting to the root of it. Most likely there's an emotion that sits right below the surface that is the reason for the anger.
Yes.
I feel like it's still a byproduct of another emotion, even though it in itself is an emotion.
Right. Yep. Let's see. Healthy anger means learning to communicate well with others. And that can be really difficult. Like I was talking about my fear of confrontation. That does make it difficult sometimes for me to have good communication skills because I'm scared. And I don't know how to communicate when I get scared. I'm literally like, what? Yeah. And so those things are like, those are the types of things I'm working on so that when I feel a certain way, you know, I know how to deal with it better. It's not easy and communicating it better, you know, because I think that if we're trying to communicate something to somebody and they're just not listening, they're just not getting our point of view, that a lot of times we can get angry over that. It builds and it builds. And then, you know, so the communication really has to be on both ends too. You know, the other person has to listen and we have to be able to explain.
Yeah.
You know, every situation is different, but healthy anger is self-compassion. I think we forget this. I think a lot of times we beat ourselves up, but there's also this, like, I don't know, call it a phenomenon, where we don't want to blame anybody else for why we're angry. I mean, we don't want to blame ourselves. We want to blame everybody else
Yeah.
besides ourselves,
Right.
right? So we can't take the responsibility of things. Then we can't show ourselves any self-compassion because we're not even taking responsibility. If you take responsibility and then you tell yourself, but you know what? It's okay. It's okay for you to feel this way. You know, I did this when I found out about my new family. I was angry about my mom never really being honest with me about who my father actually was. And I told you, I'm like, I'm so angry. I'm so angry. But I wasn't angry at myself. I was angry at her. And so you have to handle things in a way where it's like, but have compassion for yourself, what you're going through. Don't take the anger out on other people. Don't, you know, there's a whole list of things not to do, but be compassionate with yourself. You know, it is important.
Yeah, I grew up with all kinds of things in my life, like many people walking this earth, that gave what I felt like gave me the license to be angry.
Oh, yeah.
And were those things necessarily all my fault? No. Were some of them? Yeah. for sure.
Yeah. We all.
But I looked at that, and then well, I married somebody that was more angry than me.
Not me.
No. My first
me.
marriage.
Yeah.
And I'm sure I wasn't always peaches and cream, you know, to be around. But kind of like what you said, where people not taking accountability for their anger, it was like, well, whenever the physical violence was addressed, it was like, well, you bring me to that point.
Yes, and that's what people say.
We actually went to like marriage counseling for this. And
Right.
that was said to the therapist, and the therapist was literally trying to say, you don't understand. There's no excuse
Right.
or reason to ever raise your hand.
No.
And hit somebody.
No.
So
never.
This is anger. And I again understand, because I knew this person well, that this was from years of trauma,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
and fear and whatever. All the same things that I had
Yeah.
in my life. The difference is I wasn't raising my hand.
Right.
So we have to be accountable for us and what happened to us, whether it was our fault or not, because we carry that.
Yeah.
And it could actually have a bearing on our reaction to things in life.
Absolutely.
So we have to be aware of that this is a place of karma. And if we turn around and just take that karma that happened to us and then transfer it to somebody else, it's not really getting dealt with.
Right.
It's not being eliminated.
Yep. Yep. Something else that I wrote down here is that every situation in life is temporary. Okay. However, but let's look at that for 1 second. Okay. Every situation in life is temporary, which is true. No situation that we're in, like now today, is always going to be our situation.
No.
So we have to remember that when we're angry about something. However, if you're angry enough, you can change a situation forever. You can make somebody not like you. You can end a relationship. I was in a relationship myself that I started seeing signs that this was going to get physically violent. And I always told myself that I would never be in a physically violent relationship. And it took a while for me to really find a way out, but I did. And before it got physically violent, you know, it's that, but that,
You
because
can end
that person,
more than that, too. I mean, you can end a life,
yeah, you
and we've
can.
seen this happen over and over, you know?
Yeah, you absolutely can. But his decision to be angry like that is ultimately what ended the relationship.
Yeah.
So it did have a lasting effect, which thankfully it did, because that wouldn't have been a good relationship for me long term. But, you know, I learned a lot from it. And I see the anger that people have and hold on to for God knows what reason, for whatever they're told, whatever they've been through. You know, it's usually not. It's not about the person it's directed to, even though they want to say, you made me do this.
Right.
You said this or you did this, and so you made me that angry. No, sorry, because not all of us get that angry.
No.
No.
That we all have to be accountable.
Yep.
You know,
Absolutely.
Whether we think we don't, you know, and maybe there's many people in this world that walk around and think, who cares?
Yeah.
I can do what I want. Not realizing that you're going to have to look at all this.
Right.
Like when you go
Yeah.
and you sit in your life review, you're going to have to look at all this.
Yep.
And it may seem really hard, really easy to tolerate now because you're living it. But when you watch from outside and you see what effect you have on somebody as a result of this behavior and anger, you'll probably decide you need to come back and learn a few more lessons.
Yeah. That is something that has really changed me, is that knowing of that when I get to the other side, I'm going to have to see all of the things that I did, and I'm going to have to feel the way that I made people feel. I don't like to make people feel bad because I don't want to feel it here. I'm an empath.
Yeah.
So I don't want any more of those in my life. Like, I really try, I'm not perfect, but I try and handle every situation where I won't look back at what I've done when I get there and go, eesh, God. Yeah. You know, we all make mistakes, but it's what you do after them too.
Right.
Do you apologize for your mistakes, or do you just pretend like it never happened?
That's a big one.
Yeah, it is.
That's part of being accountable.
Absolutely. Yep.
You know, if you're going to do the full process and, acknowledge it within you, then an apology would be appropriate.
Yeah, I totally agree. I asked our listeners, where does your anger come from? Where do you think that, when you do have it, where does it originate from? The number one answer was childhood trauma. And I 100% believe that. I think that we don't even realize how much childhood trauma we have, because a lot of times it's the small things that add up. It doesn't have to be abuse. You don't have to suffer abuse or have horrible parents to have trauma from your childhood. I have one client that I did a reading for who held against her father his entire life that he once, when she was a kid, said that she looked silly in glasses. And it made her self-conscious for the rest of her life, she said. And it was the first thing she wanted to talk to him about when we connected after he passed. Wow. She held on to that forever because of one thing that he said. She had so much anger. And you know what? In life, he wouldn't have remembered that. He did, because he's on the other side now, and he can say, honey, I didn't mean anything by that. I'm so sorry that you have felt this way your whole life. But in life, a lot of people don't do that. If they don't remember, then they immediately go, oh, no, that's not true. That's not true. Yeah. I've learned that if somebody says that I did something to them in the past, that even if I don't remember it, I just say, I'm sorry. Yeah. I'm very sorry. That's not who I am anymore. Because you don't remember everything. No. You don't. Not at all. Let's see. The next one was repressed memories. And this is an interesting one, because if they're repressed, then how do we know that this is causing us all this pain? When I talk to people that have repressed memories, a lot of times they just tell me that they just feel like there's things that they don't know and they don't remember. And you know what? I think that this is really more common than we realize. I was talking to you about this the other day and saying that I don't remember a lot of my childhood. Right. And I think that we do that on purpose so that we don't remember the trauma that we went through.
Oh, absolutely. I definitely think that. And then I think that there is a part of us that is affected by previous lives, even though we have no memory about instances or being another person. We're still that same soul. Mm-hmm. So that same soul has its blemishes. Yeah. It has its shiny spot. You know what I mean? It's the same soul. It's just traveling in different bodies to learn different lessons. But those, impressions are left on us.
Yes, totally. The next one on this list is trauma from adulthood. And,
I have that too,
yeah, you can get that just as much. We were talking last night about how when we first started dating, I was very cynical. Mm-hmm. We were both very different people when we started dating. Yeah. Both very different. I was jaded. I was angry at the world for how many years of my life I felt like I wasted, all the ways it was taken away from me. But what I didn't look at was that you made your own decisions, You handled things the way you decided to. Right. So who do I have to be angry at? Right. Myself. Yeah. But, we have these things that happen to us. And we really, if we can understand and accept the fact that things happen to everybody, and it really our test here and our lesson here is to handle those things as best we can. Yeah. And to not lose our minds over them, Yeah. It really is. And then fear, shame, or jealousy was another one of where anger comes from. And those things themselves stem from different things, stem from different maybe traumas that we've had in different areas of our life. But there's always reasons. There's always something to go back to. And I think for all of us, if we can determine what those things are and then work on them, it helps us to be less angry.
Yeah.
To handle those things better in our lives.
Yeah, it really does. I still believe that most of it is, byproduct of another emotion or another trauma, something. Yep. And the more that we can just acknowledge it, you'll probably notice a change in that anger.
Yes. Something we need to talk about in this episode is how anger affects your health.
That is what I was hoping you were going to talk about. Yes. One quick thing before we jump into it, that I believe Reese Witherspoon was quoted as saying this. And we were talking earlier, and I wanted to say, and I didn't mention it, but she said, when you finally realize that other people's opinions, if this makes you angry, because I think this has sometimes jaded me in my life, that when you finally realize that other people's opinions about you are not your business, you will experience absolute freedom.
Yep.
And that's the truth.
It absolutely is.
Because we are each a soul in a body on a path living a life. We're not in each other's lives.
No.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not they're living the life.
Yep.
We're not in each other's bodies.
Yep.
We are different. We're unique, but we're very similar because
Yep.
we're all from the same thread. But we are unique.
Yep.
And that has been a kind of my sort of goal throughout this whole process since day one, was just like, just learn to be you with no apology, kind of. You know what I mean?
Yes,
in some
be you, yes.
level, like if you're wrong, apologize. I just mean for how I feel.
Authentically be yourself.
Yeah, authentically be yourself. So
yes, I totally agree with you on that for sure. Okay, so let's go on to the anger and your health. There's a book I'd like to recommend on this. It's called Soul Speak, The Language of the Body. It is written by Julia Cannon, who is the daughter of Dolores Cannon.
Yep.
And it will explain how we physically cause ourselves to be sick, and anger can be one of the leading causes of cancer. Mm-hmm. We don't talk about it. We don't even think about it most of the time.
Right.
But when you get angry, think about it. Think about the last time that you were angry and all that energy that's stored in your body. Mm-hmm. And you just, and it's
it's not good energy because it doesn't feel good.
No, but it's there.
Yeah.
And it hurts you. It hurts your organs. So like one thing that Julia talks about in this book is how different things, like let's take sexual abuse for instance. Mm-hmm. A lot of women that have experienced sexual abuse, because they hold their anger for what happened to them in their reproductive organs, they end up getting cancer in their reproductive organs. It happens.
I will say cancer is a huge factor in anger. Yep. Cancer is a huge factor in anger.
Let me read to you what I found. I think this was on Julia's website, but it might have been somewhere else. Chronic long-term anger has been linked to many issues such as high blood pressure, headaches, digestive issues, heart problems, and cancer. Why do you think they say when you get angry, you're going to have a heart attack? Mm-hmm. Because people that have high blood pressure, and a lot of it can come from anger and suppressed feelings, they get sick from it. Heart attacks, all kinds of problems. There's evidence that suppressed anger can be a cancer trigger. The stress hormone cortisol can cause emotions. The stress hormone cortisol can be caused by emotions and elevated levels that suppress the immune system. So when your cortisol level is high, it suppresses your immune system. When the immune system is not functioning properly, normal cells can mutate to cancer cells. So I have experimented with this, obviously not with cancer, but with different illnesses, with colds and things like that. Our daughter tested COVID positive last week, 1 week ago today.
During all this fun...
During all this stuff. But, and because of all this stuff going on, I was like, uh-oh, our vibration is lower than normal. Our immune systems might not be what they normally are. But, you know, you got to think positively in those situations and raise your vibration, because if you start getting angry and stressed, that's when you bring this stuff on. And you know what? So far, we are still the ninjas of no COVID.
Yeah. We didn't test positive.
No, we didn't.
Grateful.
Yes. Through this whole thing.
Something that Julia Cannon also discusses in this book is that we can make ourselves sick with our anger and some of our worry in life.
Oh, yeah.
But we can also heal ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
We have this ability.
Yes, we do.
You know, I'm sure at some point, some diseases, you can't do this.
Right.
But that also just might be my perception.
Yes.
Because I do believe in the ability to help yourself.
I know it because I do it for myself, for you, for everybody in this house. I do it. The other night I had a horrible stomach ache and I was laying there and you're like, are you okay? And I'm like, I'm trying to concentrate away my pain, because if I can get into the zone enough, I can make my pain go away. But you have to get yourself to that point. And when you do, you feel it. You feel like, okay, there it is. There, and that helps with so many different things. Right. We should do another episode on like healing and stuff, because it really is possible to heal ourselves. It's possible to stop a process that's starting if we change our mindset. You know, it really is. So let's see how much time we got. All right, very good. So then, how do we go about like changing our anger, working with it, becoming, you know, less angry for whatever that means for you? Because we're all different. It really is about changing the way that you think. Yeah. There is no magic pill that you can take to make your anger go away. No. There is no fixing the problems that everybody has that you think your anger is caused by. Right. The only way to change your anger is to do it yourself. Yeah. That's it. Yes, mental health could be an issue in situations. So, of course, I'm not saying the only way to do this is to, you know, change your way of thinking. Some people need medication and help, but there's nothing wrong with that. Right. Like, I take depression medication. I've talked about this. Some of us just have mental, like, the imbalances, you know. I stop taking the medication and I start to feel it again. And I'm not an unhappy person. Right. It's just because of, for whatever reason, maybe it's genetic. When we start to accept that and realize there's nothing wrong with me for needing some help to feel better, you know, as long as it's not going overboard with things, then we can find a balance. Right. We have to not be angry at ourselves for needing antidepressants or whatever it is.
I know people, or I've known people that take, you know, antidepressant medication and are still angry.
Yeah.
So
that's not it's not going to solve anything.
That's why I totally agree with you that, yeah, there is no magical pill that's going to make you stop. You have to work on this. I am a firm believer in you have to go through it to get to it.
Oh, yes.
So what I would do in a way to manage it, if I was just starting out, was maybe keep a journal and start writing about things that maybe I'm scared to share right now, like openly, verbally with somebody, and write those down. Those situations. What was the trauma? What did it make me feel like? Right. And why do I maybe give an example of something that happens to you in your current life now that triggers that emotion? Exactly. If you want to take it a step further, is then reach out to a professional. There's nothing wrong with going to a therapist once a week or once a month, or a pastor or a life coach or whatever it is that you're interested in. Yep. And because often just verbalizing and sort of getting it out where it feels like, it's no longer a secret. Right. That helps our process. Yep. But you have to address what's lying underneath the anger first.
Yes, absolutely you do. Some other things, replacing the angry thoughts with realistic ones. So, for example, you're having a bad day. Everything is ruined. Don't say stuff like that. No. Maybe replace it with something like, it's frustrating and understandable. I'm upset. But being angry isn't going to fix things. Nope. If you make it sound like this is the end of the world, and we all do that, you know, I try and catch myself now when I say those types of things and redirect it and say no.
Yeah.
That's not how it is. But we have to be careful with the words that we use. We really do, because we can make ourselves feel certain ways and think certain things with those words that we use.
Yeah, one thing that I'm guilty of saying it sometimes too, and I try to get away from it, is that phrase of, oh, I hate this or I hate that.
Yes, that too.
Now, I know it's just tongue-in-cheek, right? To a lot of us.
Right.
But I personally want to get away from just the hate of anything.
Right.
So that's a good, like, practice for me of just like, okay, redirect the thought.
Right.
Instead of thinking about something I hate, maybe think about what about it that is beneficial, but it just doesn't serve my purpose.
Right.
I think also that, you know, when we look at, God, what was I going to say? I lost my train of thought.
Oh, that's okay.
It'll come back to me.
it. Yeah, for sure. Let's see, a couple other things on my list here. Remind yourself that the world isn't out to get you. Mm-hmm. For whatever reason, we think, you know, everybody thinks about us. Everybody's got their eyes on us. And no, everybody's in their own world, worried about their own thing.
Most of the time, yeah.
Yeah, the world isn't out to get you.
They're oblivious.
Yep. And angry people also tend to demand things such as respect, fairness, appreciation, things that maybe at that time they don't necessarily even deserve.
Yeah.
If you're one of those people, you have to look at that. Why am I demanding that this person respects me? Do I respect them? The way I'm talking to them, is that showing respect?
Right.
It's a two-way street. Respect is something that is earned. It's not just given, you know. Somebody will appreciate you if there's reasons to appreciate you. If you don't feel appreciated, well, maybe look at what it is that's causing that. Is it really the person that you're directing your anger at? Or is it something else, something deeper?
It just dawned on me what I was going to say, and that was in regards to, like, kind of not wanting to hate things or have that opinion. Even if I said, I can't stand that person, I want to kill him. I need to understand that thoughts are energy.
Yes.
And, you know, knock on wood for anybody that thought about hurting somebody and didn't actually hurt them. Good. You shouldn't.
No.
But the thought of wanting to hurt somebody is just as powerful. Okay? This is where that karma gets into play. It's like, think of us as like it just exudes out of our pores.
Yep.
And we're putting it out there
Yep.
into the atmosphere and the energy of the world, the global society. If globally we could all do that,
Yep.
you would see a huge shift in the change in the planet.
Yeah.
There would be a massive change in this world.
Massive.
But we're so enthralled with putting up our defenses from our pain with anger.
Yep.
And
absolutely.
It's, you know, it's coming. I mean, I hate to bring this up, but this situation in Texas with another friggin' school shooting.
Yeah.
Okay, that guy was probably hurting.
Yeah.
All right, he probably had
Something
some mental
caused his
illness
pain.
and a lot of issues going on, but he was hurting
Yeah.
to the point where it drove him to be angry enough to do something that heinous.
Yeah. Yep. The guy that did the shooting here in our town at Borderline, they say that his motive was because he hated college kids.
Right.
He hated the whole college thing. That's just anger. And
It is.
those kids that died in Texas, the people that died at Borderline, all the people that have been killed by gun violence, that most likely for most of them was not about them at all. You know, we have a lot of domestic things that happen like that. People that are shot, stabbed, whatever, domestic violence. But it's still not necessarily about the person that is killed.
No, hate breeds hate.
It does.
Therefore, it leaves conflict open-ended.
Yep.
It never has an ending.
That's right. A couple of other things real quick that we can do that I think are important is think before you speak. A lot of times we just word vomit. It just comes out. But if you feel yourself getting angry, just say, I got to stop. I got to stop. I got to recollect my thoughts. I need a moment to calm down. Take your time. There's no rush. You don't have to, continue having a conversation if you're starting to feel like it's getting out of control. Stop.
Right.
Take your time to think.
Yeah.
Another thing is to avoid triggers and chaos. What I mean by that, let's say that you're an angry person and you like boxing or UFC fighting. These things might trigger you to become angry, to feel like you want to go out and get in a fight yourself. Maybe you should avoid the UFC and the boxing and whatever else.
Yeah.
The angry things. Stay away from them.
Yeah.
You know? But I think the best way that I can conclude this with everything that we've said is this quote, and it is, to be angry is to be human. Okay? But when it is self-destructive versus beneficial is the key. Determining when that is. When is it self-destructive? When is it beneficial?
Yep.
And when are you hurting other people as well? Because we are not supposed to hurt other people. Not emotionally, not physically, not in any way. We are supposed to love. And if you can't do that, then you should just walk away from the situation until you can.
And if you feel like, revenge is the answer, then you're proving my point that the hate just breeds hate.
Hate breeds hate.
We all have something traumatic that's happened to us. But I can tell you that the heavens are looking down to each one of us to be that one that stops and breaks the chain.
Oh, yeah.
In our lives, in our family, whatever the situation is, they are looking to us, to each one, again, to step up and be courageous enough to end that cycle and stop.
Yeah. Yeah. I really think it all begins, too, with recognizing that we have issues, that we all have issues, that none of us are perfect or ever will be perfect. And,
Yeah, I'm waiting for, it seems like the world it got popular to be angry.
Right?
And I'm waiting for kindness to make a comeback.
Yeah, I don't get
for
the
everybody,
anger.
Not just the limited few that want to do it, but
I don't want to walk around this life angry. I don't want to walk around hating people or feeling resentful or anything like that, because you can't change the past.
Right.
You can't change what's happened. You can only move forward. And what you choose to do with it is up to you. If you choose to be happy or to be angry.
Yeah, I agree.
You have the choice every day.
I agree.
Yay!
We did it!
I'm so happy right now. I can't wait till this is
it's
up.
Great. I love it.
Yeah. Oh, I'm going to be so happy when it publishes on Sunday morning. And I know people are listening. Oh my gosh. We're so happy to be back. So I hope you guys are happy to have us back.
Everybody.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you.
Good job.
The anger episode was delayed gratification.
They wanted to test us for 4 weeks or 3, whatever it was, to see, are you really qualified to talk about this topic?
Right. And we did well.
Oh, I'm overqualified.
Right.
Just kidding.
No. Oh, yeah.
All right. Well, before we say goodbye, would you like to share your information one more time?
Yes. You can find me at SamanthaJonesPsychicMedium.com, and you can email us at spiritualjoneses@gmail.com, or find us on social media at spiritualjoneses.
Yay.
And you.
For my art, djonesartcollection.com for the web, at djonesartcollection for Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. And that's it for me.
Yay.
Well, once again, thanks everybody for your patience.
Yes, thank you.
We hope that you did get something out of this one again. And we hope everybody has a great week.
That we do.
Until next week, peace and love.